My name's Fred Deakin, and I am Professor of Interactive Digital Art at the University of the Arts London, as well as simultaneously having a career as a musician, designer, and interactive artist. So Viv's one of a really special group of people who were around in the late 70s when the punk explosion was happening here in London. That generation, especially the generation that took it further than the initial punk explosion, and I would call Viv more of a post-punk than a punk in many ways, because when the Slits emerged, the first kind of explosion of punk rock had kind of ended. And we were on to the next stage, which to my mind was far more fertile. The initial explosion was just like raw, just do it, whatever. And if you listen to the first Slits Peel session, you hear much more of that kind of DIY, angry, just thrash away at your instrument and don't worry about it. But then when they made Cut, their first album, that was when the whole sound took a real step up and they started exploring possibilities, and the whole year zero, scorched earth mentality that punk gave to that generation was really, really useful and really powerful to catapult them into a brand new sound. And I think most importantly, the Slits were the first all-female band who wrote their own songs and set their own agenda. They were the first. Before that, you were either a singer, a female singer, and you had a bunch of men around you helping you, writing your songs maybe, or being in the band. Or maybe you're in an all-girl band, like the Runaways, for example. But it was probably someone else's songs, and you certainly had a male manager looking after you, and you were also very much in an all-girl band because you were girls and because it would appeal to a male audience and it was sexualised. I think what the Slits really nailed was embodying feminine sexuality for women, not for men. And if you look at the pictures of the Slits, if you look at the footage from the time, they're incredibly alive and attractive and kind of thrusting into the world, these amazing, amazing beings. But there is in no sense the point of view that it's for men. It's absolutely not for men. In fact, if anything, it's for them. It's saying, I don't actually care what you think I look like. I know I look amazing, and I know I'm attractive, and I know I'm going to invent a whole new way of being in the world for women that really isn't about you men. It's about us. So I think that's where the real kind of cultural influence of Viv Albertine comes, is being one of three women who really allowed a whole new level of freedom for women in music and women in fashion and women in culture. Today's creative practitioners can only be inspired by this and can only come out of hearing about Viv's work from Viv herself, and the personal relationship we have with that creativity, not just with the Slits, but afterwards with her filmmaking and her film acting, and now this book and her return to music, have shown it's a really interesting case study in how to maintain your creativity, how to play with your creativity on your own terms, and not necessarily to please anybody else, but at the same time to express yourself in a healthy way.
So the book came out in the summer?
Yeah, May. Yeah.
May, and has it been an impactful 6 months? Feels like a big deal to me, but has it been for you?
No. So typically on the surface it looks quite glamorous. You know, it's done well, and it gets written up a lot. But in real life, I've been slogging backwards and forwards to muddy fields on my own.
A lot of festivals, then.
Yeah, not being let in at the gate, and sort of, coming back on my own, carrying stuff, and after signing, so it's not glamorous, of course, at all, and it's just been hard work. And
sure, but some exciting things are beginning to happen, I hope, as a result.
Well, again, they seem exciting on the surface, and that's the whole point of the book, that I wanted to show that you may look like you've done a few cool things in your life. And when I came back to music, when I was 50, and people saying, "Oh, Viv, you're a legend," I thought, "Oh, fucking legend," I'm going to deconstruct a legend. I'm going to show what goes behind a legend, which is basically, years of boredom, years of failure, years of mistake, years of insecurity, and that's your legend. And then two little blips where you make a record or in a film or something. And because I totally don't believe in legends, and I don't want to be a legend. And
I withdraw my comment earlier.
And I have no respect for legends. So underneath every legend, so-called, is a twat.
Now we will go back to the mist of time to Hornsey College of Art, because I want to claim you as one of us. I want to claim you as an art student. You were at Hornsey, you were at Hammersmith, you were at LCP. How was Hastings as well, all the H's? We're looking for any other art schools that begin with an H. Viv needs to go there. What was it like for you? Was that, because there's a really strong, obviously a strong creative thread through your artistic career. Is this where you kind of first encountered that, or?
No career, please. No
Sorry,
career
yes, through your work. Can I say work?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, well, I don't know.
Right.
Blag is
Blag.
yeah.
Through your blag, there's this creative thread.
Because, when I'm interviewed by a young person nowadays, they say, when you went to art school, okay, you ended up in a band and everything, but what career, or what did you think you might do, when you got your degree? I didn't even think I'd get as far as the degree, let alone think I was getting any work. It was completely about, I chose Hornsey School of Art because they had sit-ins in the canteen there, and they were locked in all over the weekend, and I thought, ooh, locked in with lots of boys in the canteen, I'm going to that school. And then I thought, if I have to draw to stay there, I'll draw. But if I can get away with not drawing, I'll get away with it. This is probably not what you want to hear. But
I just want to hear the truth here, just the truth.
Yeah. So basically, there was, in those times, there was no thought of ever making a career in art. You were throwing your life away if you went to art school. You might as well have got pregnant at 15. It's second only to that. And so you were no good, you'd thrown your life away, you couldn't do anything else. Okay, you go into art school. Then you mucked about there for 3 years, and then you squatted and signed on. And that was what was ahead of you if you went to art school, but also great gigs. We always had great social secretaries, and saw the most amazing bands, lots of snogging, lots of boys. And so very, very different mindset to now. And whilst I was at Hornsey, there was this great tutor there, though, called Peter somebody other, who thought he was Theo Van Gogh, or Van Gogh as we used to say, which was Vincent's brother, who was gay. And he really believed he was him reincarnated, and he used to do a great lecture once a week on erotic art. And he was so passionate and so interesting, and coming at it from a gay angle as well. I totally got into erotic art, and I used to play. The only thing that, because I was so easily bored, the only thing that got me going was to draw these pictures of sort of businessmen in women's clothes, or it was all very linear and sort of cartoony, and that's really why I think when I went to the shop Sex whilst I was at art school, the two came together, because Vivienne Westwood was playing with those images as well, but it never occurred to me, because I was using sex to shock myself, to interest myself, to keep myself motivated. I couldn't think of anything else I was interested in drawing or exploring. And then to get to the end of the King's Road, World's End, go into the shop Sex and see Vivienne Westwood was doing it on her body, sometimes with words, sometimes with fabrics, whether it's latex or see-through net, and sometimes with actual bondage gear, and then sort of that one thing led to another, and I went on to create a look of my own from that. But it's in England or Britain, you are not taken seriously if you change disciplines. Oh, they're not serious, they're dabbling, but in America, you could shift disciplines, you could add, and actually meeting Vincent Gallo really did help me with that, because he was a filmmaker, painter, a musician, a sort of landlord, a property developer, and he had such confidence in himself, and it made me think, I want a bit of that. It's not ridiculous what I've done. When you see someone you respect artistically, he used to watch the Slits when he was young, and now he was reflecting back to me what I had given him when he was 18. It was so brilliant, to have it reflected back at me. It's like, Viv, this is all the stuff you made me, and I'm now mirroring it back to you, and you can be it again. People don't seem to realise now so much that you might have 10 years of a slump. You might have 15 years. I had 25, and it don't mean it's over, and it doesn't mean you're dead and you're not relevant. I would never call it anything like a writer's block. Sometimes you've got to actually fight for your life. Sometimes you've got fucking nothing else to say. You might go and work in a bar for a bit. People are so frightened of dropping the ball. I dropped it for 25 years. I've come back. I wrote a book which took me 3 years to write. I felt a fool sitting down every day writing it. I didn't know anyone would ever read it, ever like it. I thought I'd be torn to pieces. Had a nervous breakdown after I gave it into the publishers. I couldn't leave my bed for 3 months. I was so terrified. But yeah, I just wanted to show, especially young people, because I've heard so many more young people committing suicide than did when I was young because of fear of failure or too much pressure or whatever. And I just wanted to show them it isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And I didn't even know that myself, and I didn't know I'd survive it. And many times I haven't. And if I might have gone down with the illness or whatever, but there can be 10 years where you fuck up or, take time out to have a kid or whatever. But I would prefer that any day to churning out an album every 18 months because, got to keep your face in the news and, mustn't drop the ball, now I'm hot, because the publisher says to me, all right, get another book out, Viv, whilst you're hot. No, I'm not doing it unless I feel it. I'm not making another record unless I feel it. That record I made, it was blood, sweat and tears, and I was driven to get that music out. So either you're an entertainer or you're an artist. I reckon you make that choice. You want to be here now, making your money, have a nice little house, be thought of, as quite successful, go to nice parties, or do you want to be out on a limb, totally overlooked, resentful, bitter, but relevant when you're dead.
Think about that, people. Think about that. Tough choice.